If you're having trouble with a narcissist in your life right now, there's a good chance you might be feeding them. Feeding a narcissist is giving them supply in any form, and it's not something you want to do. Why? Well, because if you feed a narcissist, they're gonna come back. In today's video, we're going to talk about a few ways you might be feeding a narcissist in your life and how to stop. So let's get to it. Welcome to the Common Ego community. My name is Christina, and on this channel we talk about narcissistic abuse, its connection with spirituality, and we attempt to answer the question, where do we go from here? So if that all sounds good to you, be sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. So we're going to get started with a little bit of an off-topic analogy. Have you ever heard of shark chumming? It's a practice that's usually done by tour guides, and what they do is they take bloody fish parts and they throw it into the water to attract sharks. And they do this for tours, and a lot of times it's for cage dives. But the practice is super controversial, and it's even outlawed in some areas, because what it does is it gets the sharks associating people with food. And when it comes to narcissists and other toxic people, it's kind of the same thing. They look at people as pawns. People are supply for them. They are sources of supply for a narcissist. And if you're not providing supply for a narcissist, you are insignificant. You don't matter, you don't exist. You can think of supply as kind of like food for the narcissist. If you're feeding their ego with compliments, if you're feeding into drama, if you're feeding them with emotional reactions, you are feeding the narcissist. And you can bet they're going to keep coming back for more. So we're going to start off by talking about emotional reactions, because those can be hard to control, but they are a major source of supply for any narcissist or any other toxic person. The emotional reaction is easy, because all they have to do is subtly trigger somebody or plant a seed of doubt in someone else. And they can do this with complete plausible deniability. Oh, it was so innocent. I just said this little thing and this person went off. Or they can be very overt in it. They can be very obvious and just say something outright rude. And what they're looking for from you is an emotional reaction. They want you to get emotional. They want you to get angry and say things that you'll regret. They hope that you will lose your composure so they can point to you and say that you're the problem. This can happen in all kinds of relationships. So it could be a romantic relationship where this could happen daily. It could be a work relationship where it's somebody you have to deal with, and it could happen in a meeting. They could do these things to discredit you. Or it could be a family member who drops these subtle landmines whenever there's an audience. So this is not an easy one to combat, because a narcissist is very good at triggering people. And especially if they know you well, they know exactly how to trigger you. But one thing you can try is to become a conscious observer in those instances. Whenever you're around this person, expect that. Expect that they're going to try to trigger you, and just sit back and watch. Watch the show. Because what will happen, if you're dealing with a narcissist especially, what will happen is that little innocent thing that they said to trigger you isn't going to work. And they're going to try harder. They're going to keep at it because they have a goal in mind. Try as hard as you can to take an objective view of what's going on here. Try in this moment to pay attention to what that person is doing, and to understand that what they're doing, whatever it is that they're doing, doesn't really have a whole lot to do with you at all. They're trying to get a reaction from you. They're trying to get food from you. So don't feed them. So the second way you can feed a narcissist without even really realizing that you're doing it is by engaging in smear campaigns. And there are two ways that you can engage in a narcissist's smear campaign and feed them at the same time. The first way is to jump on board and help the narcissist smear someone else. And the second way is to defend yourself if you're the one who's being smeared. So in the first case, it's a little bit tricky, because if you're really dealing with a malignant narcissist, it's probably going to seem very appealing to jump on board, to jump on that bandwagon. If you have to have this person in your life for whatever reason, and you know how toxic they are, how much damage they've caused to your life, and you know that if they're focused on somebody else, it's not going to be you for that moment. So it can be really tempting But what you're doing here, if you do that, is you are feeding that narcissist. And we know that most narcissists eventually treat people pretty much the same, no matter what. As long as they get close enough to them, they will see the mask slip. And this is another danger in feeding a narcissist. You're too close. You are too close to that person who is dangerous. So if you're in this position, you're giving them positive reinforcement. They're coming to you saying, oh, this other person is, they're a liar, they're a cheater, whatever they're saying. And you're like, yeah, I know. That's, you're just, yes. You're giving them positive reinforcement. You're feeding their ego in that way. You are feeding them in that way. So it may feel like you're safe in that moment, like you're not the target of the narcissist's wrath for that moment. But what you are in that moment, because you are still actively engaging this person, you are still feeding them. You're just sitting on the back burner. You are still supply for them. And when it comes to narcissists, no one is safe. So it's not a good place to be. When you're on the other end of it, when you are the one whose name is getting smeared, you're going to be tempted to defend yourself. And we already talked about this in the first one when we talked about emotional reactions. But your emotional reactions are actually feeding that narcissist. So you might think that you can discredit them and you can get them to move along. But it's important to realize that you're actually, even if you make a good case, you are still feeding that narcissist. You're still feeding their negative energy. And that means they're going to come back. Even if you're completely innocent against what this person is saying, even if they're outright lying, the more energy you put towards defending yourself, the more guilty you're likely to look. So I'm not saying not to set straight any lies, but when you go out of your way to keep feeding into it, to keep defending yourself, and they keep coming back for more, what's happening is you're actively engaged in keeping that smear campaign alive. The best thing to do if you can is just to walk away. If anyone believes the narcissist, it's unfortunate. And if you think you have a chance, if you have a really good relationship with somebody, maybe you can change one or two people's minds. But I would caution you against making your own campaign to defend yourself. If you don't feed into it, this is likely to die down faster, and then the narcissist will get bored and move on to somebody else. So the third way you can feed a narcissist is by falling for love bombing. And we've all been there, haven't we? But once you've identified that somebody is toxic, somebody is just draining you of your energy, they have done hurtful things again and again, you've decided already this person cannot be trusted. And in most cases, they've probably done this before. It could be that friend or coworker who was just smearing your name, and then they come around acting like your best friend. And you're confused by it. But again, it's easier to just go with the flow. Don't fall for it. If you have already identified that this person is likely a narcissist or in some other way extremely toxic to your life, don't fall for the love bombing. So what's happening during the love bombing phase is that they're getting you back under their control. And you're providing positive reinforcement to them during this time. So you're feeding their ego while they're getting you under control, and they will eventually abuse you again. If a narcissist is love bombing you, if it's an ex that's coming back out of the blue, or if it's a coworker who is suddenly your best friend after they just trashed your name, if it's a family member who's done terrible things to you, and then they're coming back like nothing happened, what's going on here is they're looking for supply. Maybe they're desperate. Maybe they're desperate for supply. Don't be that supply. Do not feed the narcissist. So now I want to talk in some more general terms about what you can do, because every situation is going to be different and we all have different relationships with narcissists. Some people can just cut it off and go no contact, and other people actually can't do that. So the one thing that I can say about this is that it might be helpful to look at this relationship in terms of energy. We know that narcissists and other types of toxic people are energy vampires. They will drain you of your energy. So whenever you encounter this person, think of it in terms of preserving your own energy. That's whenever you have to deal with this person. That is your number one goal. That is your priority. I am preserving my own energy. I'm preserving my peace. And when you do that, when you preserve your energy and you preserve your peace, you are not feeding the narcissist. So eventually they will go away. So if you like this video, please let me know by hitting the like button. And if you'd like to see more like it, be sure you're subscribed, and I will see you next time.